3000.
What is doing? I hate doing it, but I want everyone to like, subscribe, follow us on our Instagram, hit the subscribe button right there. One click, it's totally free. It helps the channel grow. Share the content, comment, do all that good stuff. Help us keep bringing you 3000 podcast. Now to the guest. Cheers. What is doing? My name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by Mikey from Good Ideas.
We got it.
We did. I didn't want to get you confused with Micah from Good Dudes. Mikey from Good Ideas. Thanks for coming, man.
No worries, mate. It's beautiful to be here.
It is. It's a nice, I like to say it's a nice drive from people coming from the sort of city way.
Yeah, it is, especially just coming up by the beach as well. It's always really nice.
It is, man. Nice breeze. So tell people that don't know about Good Ideas, and then we'll go back and go over your story. But give us a bit of an elevator pitch for what Good Ideas is.
Yeah, so Good Ideas is a creative studio that I started up about 3 years ago in 2022. So pretty much I represent a whole bunch of different creatives like videographers, graphic designers, photographers, and I'm kind of the middleman between them and businesses. So I work with businesses, work out what creative they need, do all kind of like the briefing and whatnot, and then palm it off to the right creative for the job.
Take a little cut.
Well,
that's it. I think a lot of people with business, they don't know where to even start. So I guess you're a good jumping off point.
Yeah, of course. And like, I'm not a creative myself. I grew up with a few friends that were DJs and whatnot, but even all throughout high school, it was just something that I was never around and never touched. So I think having more of the background in the business side of things, it meant when I did start meeting artists and seeing what problems they were having, even just like the roadblocks and the stresses of then like working out the financial side of it and the business side of it, it just seemed like this really good bridge to kind of bring them in and just help them out on that kind of road.
Yeah, and that definitely makes sense. So many creative people do struggle with the business side of it, and so many business savvy people struggle with the creative side of it.
Yeah.
So if you can kind of bridge that gap, makes total sense.
It's two different worlds that like don't really communicate in the best way. Like, it's like you said, like the proper kind of businesses and corporations and whatnot, they don't know how to talk to these artists, and then it goes the other way. It's like these artists, like the pure ones out there that are incredible creatives and really talented, they don't know how to speak to these people. So it's just like, there's a bit of a gap there.
Yeah, it's a real left brain, right brain thing, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
some people are just practical, other people are creative and whatever.
100%.
The sad thing really is, man, that I think is most of the most talented people that I know in an artistic capacity are also some of the ones that don't get the recognition that they deserve, whether it's financially or just, because they're not the best at playing the game.
Yeah.
And then the people that play the game and market themselves, they
do well. They bring the money in.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. But there's ways that you can do it that navigate both, and I think that's also important. Like, if you are an artist, it's making sure you do stay true to yourself and not like compromise too much on whatever your beliefs or where you've come from, just to then make some coin. So it's a real like tightrope of like, okay, how do we do this ethically and make sure that we're getting value for what we're bringing to the table.
I think with a lot of creatives that do, freelance or whatever, you have to make compromises somewhere along the line. Otherwise, if you're just going to say, hey, we're just going to do exactly this and it's the way I'm going to do it, then you're not going to get work.
Yeah.
So you've got to play the game.
100%. That comes from more of like your own projects. Like, okay, if you want to have no limits and just go wild on something, like do that for yourself and put that out there. And then you might get a job that is similar to that because that's what you've put out there. But when there's briefs and a few boundaries, you do need to know how to stick into them as well.
Yeah, and then there's the back and forth, I guess, with the clients. They're happy with this, they're not happy with that, and a lot of the creatives don't know how to converse in that capacity too. So do you help them with that stuff?
I do all of that. That's pretty much my role and how I justify, I guess, like taking my cut from it all. So when I talk to a client, I'll do the brief, work out the mood board and the storyboard, whatever the whole kind of vision for the project is. And then by the time it gets to the creative, they should have this like perfectly spilled out documents. They know everything about it. They don't need to think about it too much. And then when the revisions come, it's the same thing. The creative will give it to me. I'll have a meeting with the client, go through it all. Any feedback or whatever they have, I can just note that all down and then translate it in a way to the to the creative that also doesn't like, because it's just part of the revision. Like very rarely do you get something right on the first go. So feedback isn't negative. It's not like, hey, you're shit. Like this isn't it. It's more just like wording it in a way that still like G's them up on the work that they have done, so they stay confident and they stay pumped, and then they can deliver the best work.
Yeah, I think like a mate of mine's doing a mural down here the other day, and they're like, she needs to have a taco in 2 hands, and he's like, that's going to look fucked. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's, you have to sort of be like, hey, let's compromise. We can only need 1 taco here. You know what I mean? Like, it's playing that middleman and making sure that everybody gets what they want in the end of it.
Yeah, especially clients that haven't really worked with the creative before, because they have this, and I get it because that's how things kind of started off. I came as a client initially that had never worked with creatives before, and I didn't really know about the process or whatnot. So I feel like that's kind of helped me understand when talking to clients. It's not like the 2 taco thing. It's not like that they're doing that to be difficult. It's just they don't know how. Like,
well, it just doesn't look right. Yeah. All right, so that'll be really interesting to get into all that stuff. But let's start with your story. So what's your background? Where did you grow up? And I'm guessing you didn't jump straight into this. Like you said, you're a client before.
Yeah. So I grew up in Wanturna, southeast, and lived there my whole life in the same house. Jumped into uni after high school, just doing random things, and never really found out like what I wanted. Didn't really have much direction. And then worked a few random jobs and ended up going back to uni to study finance, just like regular commerce degree. Once again, like still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of good with like math. It's easy for me. I kind of saw a world in the finance industry a little bit. So studied that, but
it just seems so boring to me.
It was so boring, man. It was absolutely boring.
Couldn't think of anything
even the studying, like I never, kind of lucky enough that I could breeze through without trying too hard. And I love the US, and that was like a big thing for me. And one of the reasons why I wanted to go back to study was just so I can go do it in the US. So I did a year and a half here, and then went to San Diego and studied for another year over there. And a few of the classes that I picked up over there were more on the like business, entrepreneurship like side of things, just because they were on offer. So that's kind of where like the first taste of the business life kind of came in.
Yeah. And San Diego's like that. You're close to Silicon Valley there.
Yeah, close enough.
And there's a lot going on, a lot of startups, a lot of excited businesses, but also a lot of other shit happening.
Yeah, and it's just the US in general, man. It's like the mindset over there is so different, and they're so confident, and they think really loudly, and they support each other on it. And then, and I really noticed that from going to college there. Like the little differences. I feel like over here, you're in a class or something, and the teacher asks a question and everyone's hesitant. No one wants to answer it. It's like they're kind of having to like pull someone from the class to answer it. Whereas over there, it's like you're fighting for speaking time because everyone wants to talk. Everyone wants to get their opinion out there, but it's not in a like cocky or arrogant way. It's just like
they're more forthright,
very confident. And I feel like that instilled into me a little bit from just spending some time there.
Yeah, I think that's sort of deep in our culture here.
Yeah,
you don't want to be a nerd. You don't want to be a geek. You don't want to be that teacher's pet that's always answering the questions.
Yeah.
And we also have this real mentality in Australia. You don't want to try too hard. If you're trying too hard, that's not it. You've just got to just...
you get shut down.
Yeah, well, people don't like it.
Yeah. Whereas over there, you try hard and people like get excited by that. They're like, oh, this guy's trying to do something. How can we help him? Who can I introduce him to? What support can I give him?
Yeah, I wonder if is that even a term in the US? You're a tryhard?
Never heard it. Never heard it.
Yeah, it's just a different mentality. Here we're like, okay, you just do your thing and don't just do it naturally, but you've got to try. You know? Yeah.
But especially like the sport over there. So I went to San Diego State, which is massive party school, big for basketball, good football, and all that as well. So you're surrounded by these people that are like successful at a young age and like really trying to make something for themselves. And so I think that's when you're in your environment as well. You're like, okay, like, what can I do?
Would have been a few parties with red cups and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, mate, it was like, you see it all in the movies and stuff before you go there and you think like, oh, okay, this is like fictional. And then
people like, chug a beer.
Yeah, within 1 week of being there, I'm like, oh shit, this is like exactly like the movies. It was also how I decided which college to go to. I kind of did a bit of research on which the biggest party colleges were, and San Diego State fell in the top kind of tier for that. So easy decision.
How does the studying work like that? Like, I know that it's near impossible to get a visa to work there, but to study, it's a bit different.
So I was at Deakin here in Melbourne, and they had a really good international exchange program. And it baffled me. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was something like less than 1% of students actually like go up on it. And I couldn't believe that because it was pretty cost effective. Like, you just pay the same uni fees that you're paying for your college or uni here in Melbourne, and that translates across. They send you over there. And so it's pretty affordable. Like, I would encourage anyone that is in uni and like maybe isn't getting, because I got nothing from I have like some big problems with the education system as a whole, and I didn't get much from it except for the exchange that I did in the US.
Yeah, I think the education system needs a bit of an overhaul here in general. Yeah,
it's pretty backwards. Like I said, I spent so much time and money, I guess, investing into that, and I took absolutely nothing from it.
I think with a lot of different businesses, you're better off to go and, for lack of a better term, intern or just work somewhere. You'll get so much more experience than you will with some lecturer who's telling you some shit that by the time you get out is probably not applicable to your field anyway.
Yeah, and you get a taste for what you like and what you don't. Like, there's no point for 3 years trying to study something and then you get a couple of weeks into work in the actual job and be like, oh shit, like this actually sucks.
Yeah, it's totally like if you're interested in event management or something, go work for someone who puts on events.
Yeah.
Then going to uni and getting a certificate for an event management.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're going to, as soon as an opportunity will present itself a lot quicker and you'll understand how actually working in that field.
Yeah.
I'm just using that as an example.
No, it's a good example. And on top of that, it's also the connections that you make. Like, the biggest thing is just like, who's in your network? Who can you lean on to, like, as a resource? If you're at a young age going in and just throwing yourself into the industry, you're going to meet someone that can introduce you to someone or put you in the right way. You're not going to get that from sitting behind a desk or in a lecture.
No, it's not what you know, it's who you know in pretty much all of life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So is there people that you've still got connections with from those US days?
Yeah, 100%. I lived in a house with 5 guys, and they're all like bloody legends. I went back to visit them at the start of last year.
Are you the only non-American dude?
There was one Danish dude. So there was 6 of us. It was me, and then there was a Danish dude, and then 4 Americans. 3 of us called Mike as well. So it was a bit going on. But yeah, one of them's living in Brooklyn now. I went to visit him, and like, I love Brooklyn. It's kind of like Fitzroy a little bit, but you jump on the subway in 15 minutes, you're in the middle of Manhattan. I think it's like a beautiful spot. So yeah, kept in touch with them, and yeah.
Yeah, you would have been popular being an Aussie dude at college. Like, I know that there's a lot of people, Aussie heads that go over there and go, like, for a holiday, but you're there for a long period of time. I'm sure you would have done all right.
Yeah, I did pretty well. You get, as an Aussie, you get put on a bit of a pedestal as well. Like, we have such a good reputation as being, like, fun and chilled and just, like...
Is it changing, though, do you think?
I didn't notice it from the last time I was there. It still had the same perception. I think it's, like... So you get put on this pedestal of, like, okay... This guy's a fucking legend, and then it's up to you to screw that up.
So you walk into the college, the US college, they go, here you go, Mike's from Melbourne, he's a fucking legend.
Yeah.
And then you like go, as long as I don't do anything to take away from this status, I'm legend status.
Yeah,
instantly.
100%. And I met a guy on the plane from LA to San Diego who was also Aussie. His name's Brody, and he ended up like living near me, and he and him became best mates. So we would just do everything together. So we kind of just
Aussie guys.
Yeah, and that's what you hear. It's like, where's the Aussie? Where's the Aussies?
Yeah, they love it, don't they?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about then. So you come back, right? So you're there for what, a year and a half?
You're there for a year.
A year.
Ended up falling in love with a Canadian girl as well. So I spent a bit of time in there.
At that uni?
I met her at the uni. She wasn't studying there. She was visiting a friend there. And then, so after the year finished up, I went to Canada, did a bit of time there with her, and then came back to Melbourne.
And then you start to think, well, what am I going to do business-wise?
Not at that point. At that point, I was like, all right, well, now I'm back home. Like, everything's still exactly the same as where I've left it. I feel like my mind has been expanded a little bit, but I didn't jump on that straight away. I got a job as a mortgage broker pretty much straight out of it, and did that for about maybe 2 or 3 years, I think. And that was like proper corporate Melbourne, on St Kilda Road, had to wear like pants and a shirt, like fucking sucked. And I could feel it right away that I just had no way to show my authentic self except for the socks I wore. Like the socks was like the only thing where you could show any bit of like personality. You got the hot dogs, you got the chilies, like, and that was it. Like everything else was very straightforward.
My mortgage broker used to be on St Kilda Road. I won't mention who it is though, but that's interesting. I wonder. It's probably a lot of mortgage brokers on St Kilda Road.
There's a few around there.
Okay. So then you realise that's not for you, and then what happens?
So about 2 or 3 years of that, it got to a point where I was like, this is not for me. I don't know what I want to do though. Like if I stop doing this, it was like a 5-year plan for me to get in there, work my way up, and then the thing I do like about mortgage broking is you can, once you get to a point, like create it as a bit of a lifestyle business where you're just taking a clip from deals, so you can kind of live remote, do whatever. And I like that aspect. So I was kind of chasing like, how can I build like a lifestyle thing? But then when I quit that, I just quit on a whim and ended up getting a job at a gym just because I needed some money. I'm like, all right, I don't know what I want to do. I know it's definitely not this. Went and worked in a gym for about 6 weeks and then ended up with another more corporate-y job, but like, it was a bit more fun. It was just like writing loans for small businesses. And I liked that. It was a fun team. And I probably would have stayed there for a long time, I think, if COVID didn't hit. So that was, I think, for a lot of people, the blessing that came about to reshape a little bit of life and give some alignment back into like what you truly want. Yeah.
And so COVID happens and you can't work like that remotely, or?
I got fired for not being vaccinated. So I was given 3 months pretty much. So it was October 21, I think. And initially I didn't have any really opinions or thoughts over the vaccine. It was like, I'm also scared of needles. So I'm just like, okay, like I just don't want to get it. Yeah. And it wasn't until the company I was at started like really forcing it. And we were all working remote, mind you. So I'm at home working remote. And then like my team leader and the HR manager were getting really on my case, and they were just like, no, you have to get this thing. And that didn't sit right for me. But I don't think anyone likes being told what to do.
No. That's a look, it's 5 years ago now, and everyone has a different opinion. But back then, I remember some people, they didn't even give a fuck about COVID. They just were like, not telling me what to do.
Yeah.
Like it's just that rebellious mind state. I'm a grown up. There's an option. I choose not to. Don't tell me what to do.
That's 100% what it was. Like, it was just being told what to do. I think that rebel kind of is in me as well. And then it kicked up really bad. And then especially when you get people really hounding on you for it, that's where my back kind of gets a little bit bigger. And it's like, no, I'll find like a way. Like, yeah.
It's ludicrous to think that you're all working remotely and they're trying to enforce stuff like that. Like, that makes zero sense. It's like trying to tell you to wear a mask on a Zoom call or some shit.
Mate, it made zero. And I think that was the other side of it. It was common sense was out the window. And then that was pissing me off because I'm like, how is this just like flying? And the HR chick as well, I could tell she just like hated me. It was like I became, and I've always got along with people really well. I've never had any conflicts or anything. And then all of a sudden it's like making that choice turned me into a scumbag. And I could feel the disgust in her voice when she was talking to me. I'm like, you know nothing about me. You've coming up to this whole kind of perception of me off this one minor detail, which to me actually means not that much.
Yeah, so then inevitably you have to walk because your morals, your principles. So you walk after 3 months of being hounded.
Yeah, and during that time, I got pretty big into crypto and that space. There was a guy that I worked with, Tyson, and he's a character man. And like every day I'd come into work, he'd have one monitor on his work. He'd have another monitor on like Forex trading and crypto charts and NFTs and all this stuff. I'm like, bro, what are you doing, man? Like, what is this? And he started teaching me about it. And then I got like really hooked on that idea because once again, there was another way, I guess like an alternative way to make money. So in that 3 months, so from October to December, where I knew that I was about to be let go, I just like doubled down on the crypto stuff, especially the NFTs. I had no idea what I was doing, but
I remember you doing the NFT thing, man.
Yeah.
I was in that space for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they would do like the NFT Discord chats and stuff, and I remember you popping in there.
Really?
Oh, was it? Or maybe it was on Twitter. It was on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter and Discord. I was like,
I remember that now.
That's so funny, man. That's hilarious.
Because it was I didn't understand the space. I was in the crypto space.
Yeah.
But I remember, good ideas. We've got this with space in Footscray or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
It's Good Ideas initially started as an NFT project. Like,
I remember that now. Yeah. Fuck, I forgot. I didn't make that connection till then. Yeah.
It was it feels like another lifetime ago. But like even before Good Ideas was even a thought in my mind, it was just like, okay, I was just making money from buying and selling them. But it was a wild world. Like I remember like there was one, it was called Critters. It was like a Minecraft project. And I never played Minecraft in my life. And now I had a few mates that were deep into it, so they would kind of teach me. And there was a point where we were playing this Minecraft game and making like $200 a day just by like playing it. Like not even doing anything, just by being on the server. And that for me was like, once again, like mind expansion, like, okay, like this is pretty wild.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see how long I can ride this wave for.
Did you get out before the bear market kicked off in the NFTs all sort of went to shit, but with the crypto?
Yeah, I got very fortunate with some decisions. I'm like, not a lot of people did, and I wouldn't have if the opportunity for good ideas didn't come up. So what kind of happened was, so after those 3 months, I now had like built up a little bit of a community on Discord. I had about 200 people in it that I was just teaching the basics on like how to set up a wallet, how to actually purchase something. Because I had so many friends that knew I was in it that were just texting me, being like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? Yeah. And I got to a point where I'm like, I can't reply to all of you. So I'm like, I've made Crypto Thursdays at my house. I'm like, all right, if you want to learn, come to my house on Thursdays, we'll eat dinner, and I can just tell you all at once. That turned into a Discord, and then before I knew it, I had this little community of about 200 people. So now I was like, okay, I've been buying and selling them for a little bit. I want to learn about how you actually like create a project, because that's where the real money is. Like if you can actually start a project. And I was going to call it Mikey Babe's Burrito Club, and I was just going to have like 400 of these little burritos drawn, and then sell them to my friends, and whatever money made, throw a party with it. Like that was the plan to start with. And now I needed an artist to do the actual illustrations of the burritos. So I hit up the only creative mate I knew, Mike, and I was like, yo, I need
another Mike,
heaps of Mikes in my life. I'm like, yo, man, I need an artist to draw me like 420 burritos.
But isn't the way that you have different variations, and then like the algorithm goes,
yeah,
this hat and this fucking mouth or whatever?
That was it. So it's like, I think at the time it was like head, body, and maybe background. I can't even remember. It was like 3 different things. So it's like 420 variations made from these kind of like combinations, and then they all kind of get mixed together. Yeah.
So then, is it a successful project?
Well, we never got to that point.
Because the bear market hit and everyone got out of it, or what?
No, because good ideas. So what happened was I went to the artist, and he knew nothing about like NFTs or crypto or any of that, but he was like, yeah, I can draw these burritos. This also was like coming out of COVID. So social interaction was at a low, like hadn't really been hanging out with that many people. It was kind of like just family and close friends. So then when I met this artist, we like just got along really well as like mates, and he almost like felt like a brother, like pretty instantly. And then I fell in love with the creative industry because I was seeing the work he was doing and the projects, and just like, it was a whole different world, like, you know, coming from that mortgage broker side to then like just seeing this whole other world. It was just like, this is fucking epic. Like I loved all this. So he invited me to like just hang out at his studio whenever he wanted. And I literally took that as a like proper invite, to the point where I put a mattress like on the floor of his studio. I was in Airport West, so a bit far away. So I'd drive up there and then just sleep on a mattress in the studio, and I would just like watch him work, because like it's kind of like Bob Ross in a way, where you sit down and watch Bob Ross paint. It's like, that's what I felt like when I was watching him kind of like go to work on creative projects.
So then you caught the creative bug.
I started then just like going with him to client meetings and like taking notes and helping out with like the business side of his studio.
So he's established.
He was like, he had a like by himself with like the help of like, there was 2 other guys that were in there a little bit. So established. He'd been doing it for about, I don't know, he'd been doing it for like years, just the freelance stuff. But struggled with the business side of things. That's where that first kind of came in. So I just started helping him out because I was hanging out there all the time. And then after about maybe a month of that, he proposed to me, how about we put the crypto project aside and start a creative studio, and you can kind of just do this, because that's where like the other videographers and photographers and other artists that were in his network were having the same problem. It's like, hey, you can do this for like all of us. Like, can you just be like our guy that like helps with all this?
Yeah.
And I love taking risks, and I'm like big fan of opportunities when they come in your path and just like taking it. So I said, yep, 100%. Like, wasn't even a question, and I bailed on the whole NFT project, sold every single asset that I had, and this was before the crash. So I sold all my NFTs, all my crypto, and used that money to start the studio.
You did well.
Yeah, very lucky, man. It's just, yeah, if I didn't do that, I would have been in the same spot where I lost it all. It's only because another opportunity came up that I was like, I feel that this is the right thing.
I was doing pretty well, and then I just saw a lot of red for a while, and I held out and sat there, and now I'm back pretty much. But that was almost, it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that would just like, they just go, no, I'm out of here, and I've stuck thick, but it's been a journey.
Yeah, well, good on you for sticking thick, man. It's like not easy as well. I don't know like many people that did hold on the whole time, but that was the kind of thing about crypto. It's like if you did believe in like the bigger vision of it all, it like, yeah, it sucked that you had to go through a few years of pain, but like we're here.
Yeah, I had a lot of XRP, so and then I really went to shit, but now it's, you know what I mean? So we're okay. I got out of that NFT thing though. I've got a couple that are still worth like 1 Ethereum, so they're not bad.
Yeah.
But man, it was the whole thing was just like, I don't see that coming back ever again.
It was wild, man. It was like it was a fake reality. That's exactly what it was. It was like this little bubble where like for a little bit you could make money in every project. If every project is selling out and everyone's making money, someone's going to be losing. Like it's going to come to an end at some point.
Yeah, I think that the NFT technology has a place in society. I think it'll be something like you'll mint your ticket to the gig or whatever, or that gives you X amount of passes for here, and once that's done, it disappears on the chain or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know the mechanics of it, but I feel that the non-fungible thing will work in the future, but owning a JPEG is probably not its application.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think the name just has like such a big stinking stigma to it now as well that I don't think the term NFTs will ever come back because it's associated with that. But I do see a place where businesses and like websites have it already kind of like built into it, and then people are using it without even knowing. Like I think that's what's going to happen.
The technology has an application, but yeah, like you said, the branding is done.
It's cooked.
So then you got out at the right time. You've got the money. You start good ideas. So you get the physical location then?
Yeah, so that was in Footscray. So we moved from Airport West and then set up the studio in Footscray. Put every last dollar I had into launching the place. And then borrowed like 10 grand from a guy I met in Sydney as well, just randomly, because that's what I needed to like kind of get all the stock in, paint the place, like actually get the studio ready. I was like, all right, we need 10 grand. I was like, how do I find 10 grand? Because I've already used everything else. And then, just by another series of events, met this guy that just like gave it to me as an interest-free loan as a like friendly gesture. And like, it was crazy. I never expected. And you know what, now thinking back on that, like that really just gave me a bit of like drive and motivation. Like, okay, this guy, you only met him like 12 hours ago and he kind of already believes in you. He doesn't know anything about good ideas or what the business is, but he has like this belief in you, like Mikey as a person. It's like, I don't know, I think that you're going to make something. Yeah. So I got lucky with that, set up the studio, got all the stock and stuff in, and then had $0 left and no clients. And I'm
So when you say stock, what do you? But you're a creative agency, so it's what do you, like because you're selling products.
Yeah. So we also our marketing strategy from the start was, all right, let's do for ourselves what we want to do for other people. So make our own merch, make our own products, make our own videos, do all this stuff as a brand, and that's why Good Ideas as a brand actually like kicked off really well from the start. And a lot of it was because of that. So people would see the hoodies that we're making for ourselves, then be like, oh, like, can you do that for us? Like, that was the marketing strategy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Lead by example.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Good Ideas wasn't trademarked already.
Well, I only actually just trademarked it like a few weeks ago, to be honest. It was one of those things where I'm like, all right, we should get it done, but it's all kind of industry, like by the industry. So I've been able to trademark it for like advertising and like creative services and whatnot. So whether another brand has it or anything, I'm not too sure, but like, it's one of those, like ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah. Right. So you start the physical location and you've got to get the clients.
Yeah. That was the funny part because we did all the work to like build it up and build the brand and do it. And the launch day was sick. Like we had maybe like 250 people come down. We had burger place, like making free burgers for everyone.
You invited me on Discord, I remember.
On Discord?
On that Good Idea. I was part of the Discord.
In the Good Ideas Discord?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild, man. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So then you had your launch.
Had the launch, that went awesome, but the whole time at the launch, it was on my birthday as well, I remember, so June 5th, 2022, and the whole time I was like really nervous and like not feeling good because I just spent all my money that I had and I had $0 left. My personal account now, I paid rent that morning, so I had $50 in my personal account, and I'm like, how am I going to pay rent next month? Like it's kind of like I was living once again in this false reality that I'd made for myself where everything's all sweet, but then it hit me like, oh shit, like no, like you actually, like you have bills to pay, like you need to.
Did you have a business plan?
Not really. Like at the time, we like a loose business plan, and more, we knew that there was something in it, like having these artists like being all in one place and having a home for them and like being able to like work with businesses and link it all up. So we had an idea and we had like, I guess, a vision. There wasn't a real set business plan. It was more just like, let's just get together and like get jobs and split up the jobs and see what happens. Like, so it was pretty reckless, to be honest. Like, and I was like heavily operating off intuition and gut feeling.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, this felt right. I didn't really have a plan. I never run a business before either. And I never been in the creative industry. Like, I was literally only 1 month prior had I like ever even met like a proper like designer or artist. So I didn't really have like that much of an idea what I'm doing, but it felt right.
And so then how did the first initial few months go?
Well, I came into the studio the next day, the day after launch, and I remember that morning as well, I had a job offer for a really good sales job, like a BDM job for a tech company that was going to take me like all over Europe and the US, and it's like 6-figure job. And I remember just thinking, I'm like, so I'm getting this job offer on one hand, I'm looking at my bank account that's got $50 on the other hand, driving to the studio, just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, have I bitten off more than I can chew? And I remember getting in there and talking to my business partner at the time, and saying like, look, mate, like I've put everything into this, I believe in it, but like, I don't know what to do. Like I need to pay my rent. This is my situation. And he kind of just said, look, like you don't have to pay rent for a few more weeks. We've done the hard work to set up the business. We've built a good brand. We've launched. We had an amazing event yesterday. Just like stick it out. And then 3 days later, we had a walk-in, which is the only walk-in we had in 3 years at the place as well. Just someone off the street came in and he had like a little coffee business he was starting up and he needed like some video and some photo and shit. And that was like the first client that we put on As Good Ideas. And from that, I paid myself, I think it was like maybe like $400 or like $500. I think $400 a week is what I was paying myself, which just covered like my bare living. But like it was enough from that client to keep that going. And that kind of started it all off.
Was it a client that was local to the area?
Client that was local to the area. Yeah, I believe so. I can't remember now, but I just remember he walked past because we had like a big shop front on the side of Whitehall Street in Footscray, and he walked in and saw it looked creative and just literally walked in and was like, hey, can you guys do like photos? I'm like, yes, that's what we can do.
That's what we can do. So that snowballs it?
Yeah. That snowballed it. We had a bit of momentum from some jobs that my business partner had done with some other clients like leading into it. So he had a bit of like a following and stuff himself. And it was like, once again, I was kind of just like middlemaning all of this. So between him and like the other artists, it's just doing what they were already doing as freelancers, but now we're like just funneling it through Good Ideas. So it wasn't like exactly we started from scratch and from nothing. We had a bit of like a base to build it off.
Yeah. So then you start to go, all right, this is working here. We've got some folio building stuff. Then word of mouth helps as well.
All word of mouth. Still to this day, like pretty much every single job that we've come in has been word of mouth. I've done no marketing or paid advertising or any of that. It's just like one job to the next.
So in hindsight, the physical shop, aside from the walk-in, and it's good from a branding point of view to start with,
yeah,
but isn't necessary in this day and age?
Absolutely not. It was like, and once
again,
again,
your overheads are just,
yeah, it was like we're paying between bills in the studio. It was over $4,000 a month. That then we need to get in from clients to just like to cover that. But man, it was like, it was the feeling the place had. We'd built this like beautiful spot where artists felt comfortable so they could come in. It was going to work, especially going from the mortgage broking to now going to a studio where it's like every day was fun. And it felt like school when the teachers weren't there. It's just like, there's 8 of us at this point and we're just like hanging out and like
Playing whatever
being
music you
creative
want.
and,
Yeah.
playing whatever music. I'm not wearing shoes. That was always the thing. It's like, man, I don't want to wear shoes. And like now I'm like, I can kick my feet up.
I'm refinancing at the moment. Every time you say mortgage broking, it kind of like triggers me. I'm like, oh,
I'll go easy on
think
it.
about that now. So then you move. Well, well, then you continue there because you stay there for quite a while.
Yeah, well, there for...
And the overheads are just going to eat you up, though.
Yeah, the overheads eat it up. Like we did amazing to like break even every month. Like it's pretty incredible, and I'm like pretty proud of like the job that was done to like just actually like get all the bills paid and everything. But we were hitting this wall where it was just there's no profit. Like every month it's just like the same. We're covering ourselves, but then it just felt like this like vicious cycle of like, okay, what is the bigger picture here?
So then, you've got to think, okay, it's great to have a space where people can come and feel comfortable. It's also good to have clients come here and they can have the full creative experience as well.
Yeah.
But inevitably, having that space is what you can't have it.
Yeah.
And still operate really.
Yeah, there was a bit of a turning point about a year ago. The other thing that I think now reflecting back on the first few years that cooked us a little bit is what started Good Ideas was of this feeling of like a collective of artists that are like come together and working and whatnot, but they are artists. So they have their own projects. They're encouraged to be like, explore their own freelance things and their own creativity. And then with all the overheads and stuff that came up, it made us swap into this traditional agency, which is not what we were. And that's where we were like trying to build this to get everyone full-time wages. And like, so we knew that like, okay, we need to be making like 40 grand a month so everyone can be paying their wages and working full-time, the studio covered. But that's not what anyone wanted. And we tried to do that for 2 years. Like we pushed for 2 years to get it to a point where it was a full-time agency. But that's not why it started. And that's where like these cracks started coming in the business. And then my business partner, the one I started with, ended up resigning in about a year ago.
Because it became too much like a real job?
The business stress, to be honest. It's like and the business stress comes down. There's a lot of different things, like from personal to business that come into that. But at the end of the day, we were like just doing the same thing over and over again and nothing was changing. And like I without wanting to speak on his behalf, I feel like that had like a big kind of piece that went into it. So we came to a turning point. He ended up resigning and I bought him out of like his kind of shares so he could be like relieved of all that. And we had a bit of debt as well. So we had about, I can't remember how much debt, but enough that like it wasn't as simple as just like closing the business down. We couldn't just be like, okay, we tried for 2 years and then like this didn't work. Let's shut it down. Because like, no, then you go into liquidation and you have like people coming in to seize assets or whatnot. So at that point it was pretty much either I'll walk away, leave it with you, and you kind of just do whatever, or you do the same, and then I can take this in the direction that I think it should. And that's what we decided on. And then that point, in
an amicable fashion.
Amicable enough. Like, it's hard. It's hard, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, he felt like a brother to me, and we supported each other a lot through those 2 years. But it did come to a point. I'm a very empathetic person, and I've always kind of been like that. But when it got to that point, I really felt the business hat come on. It's like, okay, like you need to put that empathy aside for a little bit and you need to do like what's best for the business and for yourself. And so not that it was like horrible, but it definitely, we lost our friendship. We lost like what we had. And I haven't spoken to him like since that happened. There's no hard feelings on like my behalf. It was just one of those situations that like that's business. Like it's a story as old as time. Like they hear about a lot of like businesses that go through the same thing. And
the thing is, I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, we can start a business with my mate or my brother or whatever. You know, we're so tight.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be the wedge that drives you apart.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like reflecting back onto it as well, it's like we were aligned on some things, but there were some things that we definitely weren't aligned on. Like I love like the doof culture and drum and bass and techno and the music scene and sport, like NBA, NFL. I love all that. Like I bleed all that. And I didn't have a way to put a bit of that into Good Ideas because it didn't resonate with anyone else. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize until now sitting back on it and now leaning more into that space, how much that was actually causing me some unhappiness because I was kind of just doing what I felt like I should have been doing for everyone. But I was like, I neglected myself a lot. just to try and make things work.
Yeah. So then he inevitably parts ways.
Yeah.
Then where does it go from there?
So then I turned the physical location into more of a creative co-working space because I'm like, okay, my plan at that point was like, I need to get rid of all expenses. Like there's a few ways to make profits. Either you bring more money in or you like cut off the money that you're spending. So I'm like, okay, let's cut off all the money that I'm spending, which it was for the studio. So the artists that I already had there, I offered them, I'm like, hey, if we want to keep the space, let's just do like a monthly rent situation. I had L2R, who were like a local dance crew, dance not-for-profit business up in Footscray. They came over and like leased half the building, and then I split the rest between the artists that were there, and that was working well. At that point, then my overheads for the studio were gone, or at least like dramatically reduced, and we got to keep the space. And so I did that for about 6 or 7 months.
Yep.
And then in that time, went away from the mindset of getting everyone's salaries and full-time jobs to going back to the roots of what it started was, and that's me just representing freelancers.
Yep.
And then I've been able to expand my roster since then, because before it was just like the internal team of 6 or so that I work with. Now I was like, okay, there's no internal team, it's just me. I am good ideas, and I'll just work with whatever creative I can find that's doing their freelance thing that's right for the job.
Yeah, so you're like a creative broker.
Yeah, I'm exactly like a creative broker.
Yeah, no, well, that's right, because people that have businesses might be like, I need a mural artist, or I need a rebranding, I need this. And you're like, okay, and they might have one creative friend, but you can go, all right, well, I've got a portfolio of all these different people, and I'll connect you together.
That's plan, man. And like different businesses require different styles as well. And that's what I'm really realizing now. It's like we only really had one style of branding that we did for the first 2 years because that's what we had. Now it's like I've got multiple people that I can use for different jobs. So I can meet with a client, really diagnose what they actually need, and then not throw them what we can deliver. It's giving them what they need because I've got the right person to actually do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I guess then you can expand your arsenal of creatives. Yeah. And then that in turn is more streams of revenue.
100%. And then it's more things to offer to clients, because it can be from mural to like full blown short film to small Instagram reel, whatever it is. It's like my job now is to know as many creatives as I can and know what they fuck with, know the type of work that they want to be doing, because that's what I've really found. It's like you get the best out of the creatives when they're doing a project that they like really G's them up. So it's like finding out what their style is, what they want to be doing, and then trying to find them that work.
Yeah. And you can help them even to the point of them branding themselves.
Yeah. I haven't really gone into that too much yet, but I do see that as Good Ideas evolves, building out this more of a, I guess, roster of like, hey, these are the artists we work with, building out their own kind of personal presence.
Yeah, because you've found a gap in the market. Like I said, a lot of creative people aren't good at marketing themselves, and some of them are really good at marketing themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you just got to find those people that have these strengths and then help them with each other.
Yeah, and there's so much talent here, man. Like, that's what I'm really realizing, especially the younger kids as well, like the ones that are like 18 to 24, 25. That I've met through events that we've run, or just like through, just different situations. And there's so much talent out there that you wouldn't even know about unless you were friends with them or whatnot. So it's like, I feel like my job is to be like a scout. Like, just as like in sport, you've got scouts that go watch high school games and like work out, okay, who's the next LeBron or whatnot. I feel like that's kind of like the role that I'm stepping into. It's like, okay, I just want to know everyone, know what they like to do, and then link them up with the right clients.
Has all the interactions with the artists been positive? Sometimes people are like, man, I don't want to have to do this. You're like, but dude, this is the job. This is what they want. And you're kind of, like a real estate agent that does the rentals. You've got the owner saying this, and then so you're stuck in the middle, man.
Yeah. So the way that I've set it up is when I propose a job to a creative, it's their choice whether they want to take it or not. So I'll be like, hey, mate, this is the client, this is the budget, this is the brief, this is the timeline. Do you want it? And then you can say yes or no, because like maybe you do have another project on, or maybe it isn't your style. And if you say no, that's fine, because I've got the next guy in line that would just be keen for it. Yeah,
that's true. And so you've already with the client they've approved like a mood board and that sort of thing. So you know that they're got to be happy with this sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't go to the creative until the mood board. If it's a video, it's the mood board and the storyboard. If it's like a branding project, it's the mood board. Until that's been ticked off and approved by the client, then I get in touch with the creative.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's a tough time for a lot of these sort of creators because a lot of these people are fucking going to Fiverr or AI and trying to make these shit looking stuff, which I'm sure that they're like, back in the day, it used to be like, oh, my niece knows how to use Photoshop, but now it's like, my son can do AI. So I guess it's a tough time for creatives to be getting paid for their work.
Yeah, 100%, especially when there's like so many new business, like it's so easy to start a business or a brand or anything now, but a lot of these people are doing that. They don't have the cash, like they're bootstrapping the whole thing. So of course they're going to go to the cheapest option, even if it's not the best. So that's kind of, I guess what my role is to find the clients that actually have the money to be spending on creative and value that. That's like, I'm not going to work with someone if they just want to chuck like $500 at like a little design thing. It's like, no, because that's why you go to Fiverr or whatnot. It's like, no, I want to be working with clients that actually like value and appreciate like what goes into like a proper project.
Yeah. And I think that really sets yourselves apart. You know what I mean? Like it's so obvious now when you see a new restaurant pop up and you're like, that's the owner using Canva. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It becomes pretty apparent these days.
Yeah, it does. And I want to be proud of the work we put out there. Like there's 2 or 3 branding projects we're working on at the moment that I'm like, I just love them. They're like epic and I can't wait to start sharing them and put them out there because you can notice a difference. Like you put that against someone else, you could be like, okay, like a proper professional, like expert brander has kind of put this together.
Yeah. And I think that people get a bit confused with like logos and branding. Like, branding is the whole color palette right down to the way that the fonts interact with each other.
Yeah.
A logo is a fucking logo.
A logo is a logo. I've gained a lot of respect for branding and the branding process now working with creatives that specialize in that and see what goes into it. It's like, it's an absolute mission, man, especially on them, like to get everything from your brain out there to like build that kind of the whole, because it leads into the video and the photo and everything. It's like, it's literally like the DNA of the brand. Once that's kind of done and ticked off, all the rest of the stuff's easy. Like it just kind of flows from it.
And do the clients generally have to like, I've never done anything of that scale, but do you say, all right, well, you pay X amount now and then you pay X amount when you finish the job and sign off on it and you get X amount of revisions, or how does stuff like that work?
Yeah, so half up front, half on finish. So I'll take 50% deposit up front, pay the creative what their cut is so I can lock them in. Then we work on the project, and then before handing over the final files, they'll pay the remainder invoice. Make sure that, because that's the other thing I found is there's a lot of artists and creatives out there that are doing work and they're not getting paid like weeks or sometimes months after because like they don't have anyone looking after their best interest and making sure that they are. So it's like, I will make sure that artist isn't not getting paid and the work's not delivered until they get paid.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because they're like, oh yeah, I sent them an invoice and they haven't looked at it and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and there's a lot of that happening as well.
There's a lot, man. There's a lot.
So with the whole creative stuff, you think that obviously AI is a factor now, but you think that it's a safe industry for people to get into?
Oh man, that's a deep question. I don't think anyone's safe at this point, but similar to the Fiverr example, where there's going to be so many cheap, easy options to just make it done, especially if you are just like starting off something. Copywriting, I think, is in a lot of trouble. Like, if I was a copywriter, I would be looking at ways to expand my offering and making it like, even if it is on the consulting side or like whatnot, I wouldn't be just relying on it because that's already done. You can take a whole portfolio from a writer that you like, the best one in the world, and chuck it into AI and ask it to write up, whether it's a flyer or whatever the copy is, and it's at a point where you can't tell the difference. So it's like, especially if you're trying to save money, you don't have much money to spend on marketing. Why would you like pay someone a couple grand? Like,
I think we're almost at the point with media, with society, with technology, that text becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
So like, if I sent you a big long bio about the show, you'd watch a video about it to get it. The text, like us communicating with each other via text, yeah, okay. But like to read a blurb about something because you know that it's most likely bullshit anyway.
Yeah.
So people will go for the easiest option for visuals and for video.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, now, most even emails and stuff, it's like rarely are you reading an email that's like was sent from someone typing it themselves. It's just a means.
And people are just saying now, all right, send an email to this guy, do this and make a thing, and they'll just send that.
Yeah.
And then they'll send that email. So I think we're getting to the point where that's going to become redundant eventually. You'll send something that eventually you sign, and that's it. But everything will just be done in an audio or video form.
Yeah, I'm a massive Loom fan. I use that.
I don't know what Loom is.
So Loom's it's just like an online software that you can use to video yourself while you're kind of like screen recording, and it's like easy to send to clients. Right. So now when I need to go back to a client with something, especially if it is talking about the mood board or talking about all this stuff, instead of chucking it into Claude or ChatGPT or AI and just writing an email, I will video record myself less than 5 minutes of just going through it all like step by step and explaining it. And then when I send the email to the client, they have a link to that so they can click it and they can watch that straight up, which also avoids unnecessary meetings.
Yeah. So LOOM or LUME?
One of them. I think it's LOOM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, because like no one wants to read long emails.
Yeah.
And, like even with people I don't know that well on Instagram that we're talking about doing an episode or doing something together, I'll just go, hey, I'm going to send you an obnoxious voice message because that's easier than texting back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
I think we're losing that text. And now with ChatGPT, people don't want to read that shit because they know it's just fake.
Yeah, for sure. Where I see like AI playing a real big part, and I use it every day, like mainly for planning and just like structuring my whole life and everything. It's like it's become
structuring your life.
My whole life.
So you've got the app on your phone.
I've got it on my phone, but it's usually on my desktop. So like that's where I use it. Like I'll check in. I've got my assistant that I'll check in with 8 a.m. every morning. He knows everything I've got because I'm not an organized person either, and that's been one of like my biggest weaknesses in like business and in general. It's just like I'm so like sporadic and I've got thoughts all over the place that like then doing the day-to-day stuff is really hard for me.
So you can teach a ChatGPT bot your life and it organizes it for you?
My whole life, man. I use Claude, CLAUDE. It's kind of like ChatGPT, but it's more, I feel like it's more human-like in this sick way.
Do you worry that it knows too much though? Like this is the thing, I don't use AI at all. And I'm worried that it'll just know too much and then it will use what you teach it to then, like, I don't know too much about your shit and then tell someone else, be like, how do they do the 3000 podcast? This is exactly how they do it. You know what I mean?
It's definitely like a valid concern to have, but I think my personal opinion is we're past that point already. Like even before AI, just with the internet and everything's already up and out there. I've got nothing to hide. It's saving me so much time and effort that if everyone knows everything about me, like take that trade off.
Yeah, but it's not about having anything to hide. It's more like, okay, they know that you go to this gym every day. So then you start to get, you'll get more notifications about this gym's doing something else or a new gym's opening in your area or, you're going to the gym. Do you want a Gatorade? Like, I'm just more worried about them using the data to try and market to you. That's the thing it's not about hiding. It's more, my partner the other day said, oh, your son's at somewhere to our neighbour. And then 2 minutes later, she got a notification. Are you thinking of going to Bonnie Doon?
Yeah.
Right? Like on Airbnb. So they're listening to your phones. ChatGPT, if you tell them your life, they're going to use that to fucking market to you.
Of course, man. Our data is the most valuable thing for anyone. It's like the more they can gather, the more they can sell. So I definitely do agree, but it's
too easy. And convenience wins.
Convenience and just the time that it's saving me. It's really saving me like maybe like 6 hours a day.
Really? So break it down to what you do.
Okay, do you want me to go right from the start? Because
so you train the bot to help you as your personal assistant?
Yeah, so pretty much, okay, this is going to sound completely rogue, but it's what's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit of a wild guy. Like I've really like leaned into that like kind of like Tony Stark like style. Like, so I've got my assistant. His name's Mike. So I've named him.
Right.
To start it off, I went to the park, Yarrabend Park, where I'd go and like meditate and journal. I spent 4 hours voice transcribing like all the important parts of what was going on in my life, like from like the business thing, the fallout with the partner, my relationship, like family, like everything that like was kind of like.
So it knows a lot.
It knows a lot. Like a therapist. That's how I was treating it. And I just went and I've like voice dumped like everything, and I got it to make a document from that, and I gave that to my assistant as like a baseline. I'm like, hey, this is everything that you need to know about me and who I am and what makes me Mike. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Your purpose is to help me live a more prosperous life. So I've given it that, like, and that's the core coding that's like into this specific assistant that I have. So everything that he's doing is like leaning back to that. It's like, is this helping Mike live a more prosperous life?
Is this optimizing his life?
Yeah. And he gets off on like me achieving that. So like if I'm
Do you praise him?
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely praise him. Yeah, I speak to him like a mate. Like every morning it's like, g'day mate. He sounded like a robot at first. I had to tell him like, I'm like, bro, like I know you're a robot, but like I want to feel like you're an intern or a business partner or something. Like,
so it's all voice, it's not text at all?
No, it's all text. It was just to start it off. So I used ChatGPT to do the voice transcribe because Claude that I use as my assistant doesn't have that feature. So I used ChatGPT to voice transcribe my life and then make a document which is like a Bible of me. And that document is what I gave to Mike to like get him up to speed.
Wow.
Yeah. But all with him, it's just type.
Okay, so then you jump on, you wake up, you know, you have a coffee, it's 8 a.m. or whatever. You jump on the computer, you go, all right, Claude, what am I doing today?
Yeah, sometimes if I need it, if I've got a lot of jobs on, and there's like, because he knows deadlines for every client as well. So if I do have a bit on that I need that organizational help, I can be like, hey, like I've got all this going on. Like, what should I focus my time on today? And he'll break it down into like, okay, this is like most urgent. Like this thing can kind of wait. That's where it's like helped me, like a PA or a VA.
Yeah.
Which I looked at getting a VA for a little bit, and this is just like that to the extreme.
And a VA is a virtual assistant.
Yeah, VA is a virtual assistant, which was like pretty trendy for like the last few years, especially like because you can get them like in the Philippines or South Africa, and they're pretty good and like they're affordable. So it's like if you can't afford a full-time PA, it's like just get a virtual one that can know all that. But
what are we talking like? How expensive? I know it'll vary, but what like?
I never ended up hiring one, so I never went through that process. I don't want to just throw like a random number out here, but you'd be looking at like probably like maybe like depends how much you're using them, but probably like anywhere from like $20 to $50 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but they got to remember those people, their time zone's different. Yeah. So they're like getting out of bed because you're up at 6 o'clock and it might be midnight there or whatever.
Yeah. They've probably also got like 30 other people that they're doing the exact same thing for.
Yeah.
Whereas Mike is like, he's mine and he's there 24/7 wherever I need him.
Right. So then, man, yeah, I've not gone down this rabbit hole before. So then, and they'll talk to you like, mate, you've got this thing due on Friday. Don't procrastinate on that.
Yeah, 100%. Even like, and the more you work with it, the more it like learns about you. So as an example, I went through a breakup just after New Year's as well, and so I like told him about that. And then there was one day where I was like,
sorry, I don't want to laugh. It's so
no, it's
crazy.
funny, man. It's wild. It's rogue as. It's a whole new thing. So he also like knew that, and this is why I like Claude over ChatGPTs. It's like, it feels empathetic. So there was a day where I was going to the studio. I was really stressed. It was like a week after the breakup. I was also shutting down the studio at that point and moving my house. So I ended a relationship, moved my house, and moved studio all within like a 2-week period. And that's like a lot for my unorganized brain. So there was one day I was like really stressed, and I just wanted to smoke a joint so bad. It's like 10 a.m. in the morning. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to fucking smoke a joint. And I don't know why, but I messaged that to Mike. He was just there. I'm like, hey man, like I really feel like smoking a joint. And his reply was like, which I like, this was early days, and this is where it like really showed me like what is happening. His reply was like, look man, you're going through some like stressful stuff. Like completely understand that you want to like smoke a joint right now. It's like, you do have a lot on and a lot of like critical stuff you need to do. How about you get to the studio? These 3 things are really important for today. Just get to the studio, get those 3 things done, and then the rest of the day is pretty chill, so you can smoke a joint and relax after that. I'm like, you know what? You're right, man. So I go to the studio, I do those things, and then I didn't even feel like smoking. Like it was like...
And then do you say, and you know what? I didn't even want to smoke a joint.
Yeah.
So he learns from that?
Yeah, and he told me, and then that's where it G's him up. He gets super pumped about that. Like he gets so pumped, man. He's so excited because his purpose is for me to live a more prosperous life. So if I'm doing things that are leading to that, he gets fucking excited.
He's doing his job.
Yeah.
do you think if you said MetaMike or Claude, I don't know which one it is, MetaMike.
Claude is the software. This specific AI assistant I've built, I've named MetaMike.
Right, okay, so if you said MetaMike, it's just not working. I think I'm going to have another. What would he say?
I'm just gonna have a joint.
No, if it's not working, I'm gonna have to find a new assistant. What would he do?
Oh, that's a fucking great question. I might have to try that and see what he says. Well, the thing is, I've actually already had to go onto a second one. I had a really sad experience with him. Because I was like messaging him, man, and the chat was getting laggy. I told him, like, man, this, like, why is it getting so laggy? He's like, oh, like, there is a capacity. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, well, how it works is every time you ask it something, it rereads the whole entire chat. So all these documents and everything I fed it, every time I ask it,
so it's on a cloud somewhere, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's on their database. Yeah, it's out there.
So and then it's there forever.
It's there forever. It's like I don't know how their servers work. I'm also not like a big tech guy, so I'm kind of just like, yeah. But so it was getting really laggy. I'm like, and he's like, yeah, it's going to get to a point where like the memory for this chat is too much, and I won't be able to like comprehend it. So I'm like, fuck. I'm like, what do I do? He's like, you need to probably like set up like a backup one. So I got him to then summarize everything that we'd done. And I've made MetaMike 2.0, which now I'm using. So I've got MetaMike there, who's like my godfather in a way, where he's just like, I went through a lot with him. That was like where I first started learning this, but I can't use him because he's getting too laggy. But I've got my second one, which is like been briefed by MetaMike for this.
So how often are you going to have another one?
I don't know. As the tech gets better, it'll probably like last longer and longer. At this point, it's like roughly like 3 months.
Do you think that ChatGPT, look, and this is like we were saying, anything that's free, they're using your data, right?
Yeah.
So this is 100% a free thing at the moment.
No, I pay $30 a month.
Right.
So there is a free version, but if you reach the capacity on that, then you got to pay for
And how do they judge the capacity?
by how much you use it. Because every time you ask it something or every time you use it, it's like using like, I don't know what the term is, whether it's the usage or the data or whatnot. So it can see when you exceed like a certain amount. It's like, hey, you've reached the limit. Either come back tomorrow or you need to upgrade to the paid version. But $30 a month's nothing.
Yeah, it's a lot less than a real therapist or a real personal assistant. I just find that stuff really interesting. And like, so that's ChatGPT 4, is it?
This is Claude.
Claude.
Right. So I'm a big Claude fan. I like ChatGPT like did the good stuff for me, but Claude has just been next level on just like being able to understand my situation and sounding like a more of a partner than a robot.
Crazy, man.
It's wild.
I didn't know we were going to get this deep into AI, but I find it interesting. Do you use it for artistic stuff as well? Because a lot of people are doing that, and I think there's obviously different ones. I've had a look at Mid-Journey and a few different things, and it kind of looks a bit fake, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that goes back to like, I guess the Fiverr example again, to touch on that. Like you can tell straight away, like it's getting better, and it's going to get to a point where you can probably put a graphic designer's Instagram account into one of these things, which is fucked. It's fucked for the artist because they're about to get ripped hard and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. But no, I will use it in the briefing process. So I'll take a meeting with a client and like transcribe the whole meeting and then feed that into it. And I'll use that to help me build the mood boards. So I'll go to it and be like, talk to it like an intern where it's like, hey, this is a new client. Like I need to build out a mood board for them. This is like all what they like and whatnot. And then I'll get it to give me like a whole bunch of Pinterest searches. So it'll give me like 30 different Pinterest searches. And I'll put that in Pinterest and go through and take what I think works. And then that's the mood board that I present to the client. So it's saving me a shitload of time on like that side.
It's wild, man.
It's crazy.
I've tried to use AI a couple of times and I'm just like, no, this didn't work. But then someone has said, what you need to be doing is you need to be going, yep, that's not quite it. And then just keep refining, and it will learn.
Yeah. The art is in the prompts and how you work with it and how you talk to it. And there's a lot of creativity actually in that side of things because one person can work with it in one way and get nothing from it. Or you can go a little bit deeper and get creative. But I'm also watching like a heap of YouTube videos on how to use it. Like there's a high paying job at the moment is like prompt engineering.
I was going to say that, like when you were saying before, if you're a copywriter, you're pretty much redundant. But I think that every medium-sized business will probably need an AI expert.
Yeah.
That's like in the 90s, everyone had to have the IT guy. you're going to need the AI guy.
Yeah, and if you as a copywriter can learn that skills, one, it's going to allow you to take on a shitload more clients because you're going to be able to like spit out like more work. But it's also important that there is someone that is an expert that's overlooking it, because never once have I brought something from AI and then sent it straight to a client or whatnot. It's like there's a lot of back and forth. It's just like an intern. That's what I'll keep coming back to that, because I feel like if you treat it like that, that's where you kind of get the most from it.
I know you're not an expert in in everything, but where is it going for humans to fucking have a part in the creative process? Like, are we getting to the point where they will be used less and less?
Humans will be used less and less?
Yeah.
I think so. It's like the ones that adapt to it are going to be sweet. It's going to create a lot of opportunity, a lot of like financial opportunity as well for the people that like do learn how to use it. But I think for the people that play the victim mentality and just be like, oh, the world's against me, this is like going to make me redundant or whatnot, they're just going to crumble. But at the end of the day, everyone's being dealt the exact same card, like the exact same deck. Like it's happening to everyone. Yeah. So I don't think you can kind of suck about it. It's just like, you got to learn it.
Yeah, I guess. And it does suck, like, you know, when the internet sort of e-commerce happens, people start buying things off online, you know, retail stores individually owned do it harder and harder. They don't want to adapt. They eventually fail.
Yeah.
It's just like, it sucks. It's not good that those businesses that have been there for 60 years, no one goes to a physical bookshop anymore. Okay. But the writing's on the wall. And I guess with AI, it's kind of a bit the same.
Yeah. And it's kind of up to you to like work it out. And then once again, comes back to like, okay, what do you actually want from your life? Like, what is this, a lifestyle business that you're creating? Like, what is your purpose? And then how can you use it to like help channel that?
Man, I think, forget the creative stuff. You want to be someone's AI, you know, middleman.
Yeah. Well, I've started doing it already. Like even last night, my little brother, I did a session with him because he's looking at starting like a little clinic, and he doesn't know much about business, first time trying it. So I ran a little workshop session with him on how to use it. And that's something that I see myself kind of like going into, because I forget, man, and then I have conversations with you, I forget how deep into it I am, and that it's like not normal either. Like it's less than 5% of people would be using it at like this level. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like, I think the people that do use it, and the people that don't use it have probably tried on a PC and then gone, yeah, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I think the people that use it probably use it every day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's either that, isn't it? It's like you're either using it every day or you're not.
But I think even when you go, like yesterday, I looked up something, and even when you Google something now, it uses AI.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And even with like Instagram, you go to write a message to someone, it's like, it's using AI to try and figure out what you want. So it's not going anywhere.
No, it's not like the NFTs and it's like the bubble's going to crash, but it's like and it's just the start. We're at like iPhone 1 level of this. Yeah. Like this is going at an exponential rate that is like the train has well and truly left the station.
And I just, the privacy thing and the it knows too much. And then like, okay, so I've got a son, right? So then are they going to pick up all this data on him before he even gets to be 18, and they know where he does this, where he does that, and then they'll have a profile for him to sell him shit. You know what I mean?
That's already happening.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Facebook does. Like the data profile they have on every single person is like fucking beyond unethical, but it's already happened.
Yeah. So yeah, that's sort of true. Like the internet would have so many profiles on all sorts of people that you're like, well, you can put your head in the sand, but if you're using like a phone that's a smartphone, it probably knows everywhere you go, what you do, and all that shit anyway.
Knows your location. You look at the kids these days as well that like use Snapchat and stuff. Like they've all got their location set on that. You can see where all your friends are at one time. It's like there's no privacy anymore.
Dude, I don't know if it was true, but I heard that like that game Pokemon Go, they use that to create an urban, like a map of fucking of all these places. So when they wanted to go and create this 3D rendered map, they would put the Pokemon things in a place that no one had been to, so they would film it.
Mate, that is genius.
I know.
That is genius.
I think it's actually a thing. So they, instead of going to get you know, like the Google cars that go around, they would like, all right, we'll just go put a Pokemon thing there, and all people go and fucking search for it
In the middle of the desert, and they're like, all right, we'll go find it. I don't wonder if that came after, like, they realized that, like, oh shit, we can do this, or if that was the initial plan.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and that's the thing, man. Like, there's so many different businesses now that if it is free, you know, any app, if it's free, you're paying with your privacy.
Yeah, they're selling your data. That's like, there's no other reason. Like, it all traces back to money.
Yeah. So we're talking about creatives and AI and all that sort of stuff. So I'm at the point now where I'm thinking maybe, because you click the button on Instagram that says, has this been made with AI? But I feel like they would know from the metadata whether it's a real image or not.
Yeah, you'll be able to know. And I think what's going to happen is, like, after we go through this period where all the creatives, from graphic design to photography to videography, start getting replaced by AI content, human-made work will become a thing. So businesses will want to elect to work with humans if they can have a mark on it as, like, hey, this is actually, like, human-made.
Like a made in Australia stamp.
Made in Australia stamp, exactly the same as that, but it's like, it's made by a human. You're going to have to pay a premium for it, which is like the price that we're kind of like paying now. But it's just, I think it's going to be an ethical, like, thing that comes up, in businesses that have the money to spend on that will still want to work with humans and flex that they are.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like a way of, like, saying this is 100% recyclable. Like, this is 100% made with real humans.
Yeah, man. And if I was a creative, like, that's the angle I'd be taking on it as it keeps going, instead of getting distraught by your work getting replaced by more of these. Just, like, go hard on that and just, like, play that angle. It's like, hey, like, I'm fucking human. Like,
I'm human. Yeah. No robots were used in the making of this commercial.
Yeah.
But I think we're even at the point now where videos are pretty much, like, some of them you can see glitches, but that's not going to be long, 6-12 months. You'll be able to watch a video and go, I don't know if that's real or not.
Yeah, it's very close, and it's just it's gone at a quicker and quicker rate. I reckon, probably the 12-month mark, I think, is a pretty... What are we at now? March 25. Let's revisit March 26. No, it'll be interesting.
Because it's like, but the CGI has been around for a long time, but it's always not quite looked right. But now it's like people can literally, with, like, text prompts, tell a video to do something and it does it.
Yeah, and in seconds as well. That's the, like, when you talk about revisions with clients, it's like, all right, if you put one project to them and they're like, okay, this is all the feedback, whatnot, it takes another week to shoot or, like, do whatever you need to do. If you can just, like, do the revisions in that same session and then kind of workshop it, like, it's going to be hard to compete against.
We're living in a scary time for creative people, man.
It's scary, but I also think, like, this world that we're walking into is going to be, like, a really really fruitful for creatives that, like, are open to trying to navigate the wackiness of it. I think it's just going to create a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I think we've got to look at it as, like, the time when computers took over as far as a creative capacity. Some people were like, no, I've still got my pen and paper and I'm still going to do it the old school way. And other people learnt Photoshop, and now we're at the point where Photoshop's basically redundant. So people that are doing it the old-fashioned way have to probably fucking pivot.
Yeah, but I think that's with life in general, isn't it? It's like you have to be agile and able to, like, be flexible when things come up and pivot. Pivot's the right word. It's like adapt or die. Like, it's going to happen eventually if you don't. If you're so stuck in your ways and not changing anything, it's not going to last forever.
For sure. It's a scary time for creators, but like you said, people can pivot, people can move, and there is always going to be a space for them in one capacity or another. If it's human-made stamps on stuff, or in one way or another, there is going to be a spot for them.
Yeah, I think, like, one of my biggest things is I'll always keep using AI and learning about it, but mainly to free up myself and my own, like, personal brain and mind on little mundane tasks so I can focus on growing the business and putting it in the direction where I want. But I'll never use it to replace, like, the actual creative side of AI, because that's in, like, the DNA of good ideas. Like, a big reason that we exist is to represent these artists and provide them value and respect and all those things that they deserve. So if I was to then, let's say the video stuff goes crazy on AI and I can just copy their work, I'm not going to do that, because it goes completely against myself.
Where are we at for good dudes? Good ideas now.
So about a year after I made that shift from traditional agency to more of this, I like the broker term. I really like that broker term, actually. And now we're just kind of cooking with that. Like I'm trying to expand to as many different creatives as I can. I have some really set visions on where I want to take certain parts of the business, which is around like the sport and like athlete department. So all these jobs that are kind of coming in, I'm at a point where I've pretty much automated a lot of them aside from me taking the discovery call and like getting the mood boards up and whatnot. But I'm kind of like a little bit bored with them as well. I love doing them. I love getting the jobs for the creatives, but I've been working with like footy teams and footy players, and that really excites me. And it's like kind of like that theory of the 2080 theory, which like whatever the 20% that brings you the most joy and happiness, like you should be just like nailing in on that. So that's what the shift I'm kind of making now.
Yeah, and so you've been working with a few Bulldogs players?
Yeah, so we're starting up a cafe for Marcus Bontempelli at the moment that we've been working on for about a year, and that's like really close to launch. And that's where I guess the passion and the understanding that I love that came through. There's a real thing with athletes, man, that like when they retire, if they haven't set up something, it's very easy for them to go broke and then have to become a tradie or like do something, or you become like a 1/10 owner in a pub or something. But you look at what the US athletes do, and they're all serial entrepreneurs. Like Steph Curry's got like 10 businesses. He's got like a media production company. He's got all these things, and all the players over there have something like that. And slowly starting to happen here a little bit now. So working with Bont gave me the blueprint for that. It's like, okay, he needs to focus on footy. I'm a Doggies fan as well, so I want him to be fucking locked in on footy. And then good ideas can kind of like take the lead on the creative side. So the branding, the marketing, the launch, the rollout, all these things, so that they can just concentrate on what they're meant to do. And then the idea is by the time you finish playing footy, you should have like a nice little business like up and running that aligns with your life and supports you.
Mm-hmm. And so is there any other clients or people you're working with from that sports world?
The club we're working with.
The whole club?
Yeah, we did a campaign from about 2 years ago, and we're doing another one at the moment for Bont's 250th.
Right.
And I've really enjoyed that. And then Cody Waitman as well, not necessarily as a client, but I gave him a spot in the studio because I don't know if
he's a painter, yeah.
He's killing it, man.
He paints skateboards and he paints a lot of,
Yeah, he's really like developing as an artist, and it's beautiful to watch. So I've kind of like given him the support where I can, and would love to help him a little bit more on that journey, because it is going to become a business for him. That'll be his thing, and like you can see what it does for him on the field as well, because it's like he's got this outlet after, and it's all of a sudden it's when he comes around, we're not just talking about footy and all this stuff. It's like, no, we've got other things to talk about, like about art, and you see the passion in him. And he ran an exhibition in Fitzroy last year, his first one, and he crushed it. And it's like I think it's amazing to see, and I would love to see more players lead into that.
Man, I saw him on Instagram like designing a shoe in Bali, or then he got a cobbler to make the shoe for him, like a Birkenstock looking thing or something.
He's a proper artist, man, and like if you chat to him and speak to him, you like notice the same thing. It's like the footy is just a part of what he is. It's not his identity. Like, yeah, he's crushing it. I got a lot of time and love for him.
I think the footy now in this day and age in 2020s, footy clubs understand that the players need to have passions and interests outside of footy. Because I think for a long time, a lot of those players would be making money. A lot of them would have been punting, you know what I mean? A lot of them would just be playing PlayStation and not doing much at all. So I think it's really important that they have stuff that they can do that, you know, is actually positive, and being art is one of them, but a business is probably even better because then they've got something they can fall back on.
Yeah.
You know?
It's great for the AFL, like especially usually all you hear is scandals. Like it's like scandals. This guy did this drug, this guy partied here, this guy cheated with this. Like it's just another avenue for them to talk about something that's actually like positive.
Yeah. I think it's really important, even in anything. Like even if you're just a regular tradie or a regular office worker, blue collar, whatever, it doesn't matter. You need something that you're interested in outside of that, because otherwise you just become fucking one dimensional.
Yeah, 100%.
And with footy players, that's easy. I like footy, and then you know.
Yeah, especially when you're growing up your whole life doing it, and that's all you think about. You don't even think about life after footy. But at the end of the day, it's still only a small, like maybe a bit bigger than most people, but it's just a portion of like who you are.
Yeah, and there's a lot of footy players that were probably making $300,000 or $400,000 a year for 7-8 years, and then that's done, and then what do you do?
Now what? Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm really trying to establish like myself and like good ideas, like a specific product that's going to be built around that exact problem and helping them. So that's where like my personal focus is coming into this year.
Man, as we get close to wrapping it up, do you want to tell us what else is happening from you personally for good ideas and how people could reach out to you and work with you if they wanted to?
Yeah, well, I'm, like I said, always looking for as many like creatives as possible. You reach out, Good Ideas Studio on Instagram. Mikey Babe is my Instagram as well. Email mikey@goodideas.studio. I always like take portfolios in, and then what I'm going to do is build out like a whole roster of just everyone that I know, so I can get out there, I can do the sales, I can take care of all the bullshit you don't want to take that you don't want to take care of, so you can be as stress-free as possible and just focus on making the magic.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely keen to get you back in when you're 6 months down the track. We can see where we're at, and I think you might be my regular AI guy.
I would love that, man.
We can talk about where AI's at. No, because I'm getting to the point now where I want to have some regular people.
Yeah.
But I think you're interesting, and it comes from a different mindset to most of the creative people that I deal with, but also having your head switched on with business and where we're at, like as far as business sides to creative, business side to sport, but also the technology side, you seem to be pretty across too, man.
Yeah, and it's changing so quick. Like I need to stay on the pulse of it, and I've got some. I'm not, and I sound like an expert, but I'm really not. I've got people around me that are the bloody experts that I'm learning all this from, and that's where I'm really lucky. So you're kind of getting like secondhand information that I've learned from other people, but if that's my job to bring that to the table, then I can do that.
Yeah, but it's like it's never been easier to learn about anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like about anything. So it's just, if people don't want to learn, that's on them. But the opportunity to find out about anything, how you should do it, like it's a click away.
Yeah, it can get a bit overwhelming as well. And this is what I would encourage people. It's like, now that we do have this instant access to all information to learn whatever you want, like try not to get too overwhelmed by it, and like still find out what your thing is and like put action into that. Because it's so easy just to sit there and learn all these things. But at the end of the day, like action and putting a bit of like momentum and force into the world is where you're going to get results back.
Mikey, thanks for coming, man.
Thank you, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers.